And we're back here once again with another episode of the Iron Man podcast, episode 561 with Sammy3Peat. Once again, it's going to be a second appearance on the show. So as you guys know, make sure you go and check out the first appearance of a guest on the Iron Man podcast. And to be fair, since I had most of the show on Rumble before I brought the show over to YouTube at episode 500, you have to go on Rumble and watch all the unfiltered, unedited episodes we did over there, because we could not have started the show on Rumble the way we did it on here, because that would be we said and did some things in those other previous episodes. But keep in mind, that's free content for you to have all at your disposal, unedited, no censors on anything. Episodes 1 through 499. It's a lot of content there. I truly think I did some of my best videos ever in those episodes. And it's free. You can follow on Rumble for free. So, wanted to make sure I announced this since Sam's on the show. Sam's going to be the, how would you put it? Like, you know, when someone's like becoming a new person and in a job, like not an intern. It's like an intern. New hire? Yeah, he's gonna be the Wednesday top G, actually, because basically until like Professor Savage Jack comes back, and then after that, we have to kind of figure out who's the real top G, actually. So maybe we'll be 3 Gs together. You never know, honestly. So Sammy, I asked him, "Can you be the top G for a little bit?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "Oh fuck." I had no one else, honestly. And then, so as you guys know, the reason I like doing the Wednesday Top G show is because I can cover like movies and television stuff that we normally can't cover on the other show, because those shows are mostly geared to like topics or like the news and everything. Well, we've been covering that same shit here, obviously, too. So next Wednesday coming up, because I told him I'm probably not going to have time for it this week. I'm so busy. I'm going to watch Batman Cape Crusader the whole way through. And then next Wednesday, for Wednesday Top Gs, will be 7 p.m. PST. We're going to do a whole season review of it. Obviously, cut it out for YouTube, obviously. And that's where we're going to start it off. And then after that, whatever he wants me to watch, I'll watch it. And then we'll just do that. And if you don't have to watch anything, there's always news, because there's always news. No matter what the situation or day is for time, there's always news.
No. We're going to start at 8 PST.
Yes, that could work too.
8.
Yes, because 7 is when I'm about dead, still not alive from work. I was like, I got almost destroyed today at work. It was just so retarded, man. Then my boss was like, "You clocked it for overtime." I was like, "You kept me doing this task for way longer. Like, what the hell?
You kept me here."
Yeah, I would have clocked it for my last 10 earlier. Works. And I was like, "You got overtime." It's like, first of 7 minutes, that's not gonna hurt anybody. Second of all, it's like if you keep me longer doing tasks, that's just how it goes. Like, I don't even know. Like, women just are people. Let's just say that.
I know. My boss would like rather like die than give me overtime. And I'm like, well, what if you just came in late tomorrow? If I was like, if anything, I'm leaving early tomorrow, but no, I'll take that extra money, please.
Oh gosh. Well, how you been, man? What's been going on?
Nothing, man. Just been on Diabolical Souls channel. We've been doing that animation block. It's been a lot of fun. We just reviewed Princess Mononoke tonight, and I hadn't seen that film in a couple years. Still holds up. It's just a dynamite movie.
That was my favorite one of those.
I think it's the most adult Ghibli for sure. But yeah, better than anything that the U.S. been churning out anytime soon. And I think I'll come to find that once you watch Cape Crusader. That's
certainly probably a show ever made.
You know what? I'll tell you what. It does get better. I would just really put your seatbelt on for episodes 1 and episode 5. That's
this is a show. People right back to it, man. This is a show that was announced a while ago, and then nothing about it. Nothing about the show. Yeah, I remember nothing about the show.
Was like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, and then at a certain point, nothing was announced for the show anymore.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't even know if it was still like what did it exist. What was Amazon doing with it? People started asking online, like, "Yo, Amazon, like, does this show still exist? Do you guys cancel it?" And then they're like, "No, we didn't." It did magically later on come with a release date. It's gonna drop on this day and everything. No binge model, because they knew if they probably dropped the binge model on this, people would have been very angry. So they're like, no binging, just you're gonna get it all at once. That's what people for, man. the way TV we had it back then, we had it and we had to watch it episode by episode. But I think that is typically the better format because it gets you in the conversation. It keeps the conversation flowing. It makes you even talk about the show after it's over because you were invested into it week after week after week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like with Game of Thrones, like people would talk about that shit like in the break room, and it was all over the place. And they kind of did with House of the Dragon, but they fumbled the bag. But yeah, no, with this, all the elements are there. Let me put it this way. It was like, and then it clicked for me, and I was like, oh, it's fucking Amazon. It was like they're gonna have to. So I don't know what was a choice and what was like mandated, So but yeah, no, they were hyping it up, and like I remember seeing the promo art going like, holy crap, this is like a return to form. Bruce Timm, this is what we play for. This I'm getting all psyched. I'm chest bumping all my fellow nerds, and it was like, hey, we fucking did it. We waited 20 years now. Now Bruce Timm's back in the driver's seat. Let's do this. And then yeah, crickets for a couple years, and we're going, yeah, what's happening with that Batman? What
it was literally crickets for months on end.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what happened to it.
First thing that drops is Lady Penguin, and you're like, oh no, come on.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you saw that conversation that I got into with that guy.
Yeah.
I tell people, man, I don't.
No, I texted you. I was like, oh, you chose violence this morning.
I don't hate casuals. People know I don't. Everyone's got to start somewhere, and if you choose to get harder into something or you choose to be casual, that's fine. But casuals like him always function like that.
Oh,
which is they're like, well, I'm casual, and I don't understand why the more hardcore fans are mad. Well, thank you for answering your own question. Like, what?
No, and he even had the audacity to like start telling you how like letting in normies is like good for the business plan.
Which I never disagree with. I
never disagree with. Merch. I was like, dude, there's plenty of women in Batman's like rogues gallery and everything. I was like, why you gotta
change the show? They have them in the show. It's Harley Quinn and Catwoman's in the show. Renee Montoya's in it.
Oh, I know. Fucking Christina.
So if they want, because he was doing the whole women bit, right? He was like, well, maybe they might want to get more women in. That wouldn't make any sense.
Well, you know what? If they're gonna race swap a character, at least like they hit the nose on the head, because the only people who would be happy about that look like female Penguin. So like they're like, oh, I finally feel represented. And you're like, you can't write this shit.
People like him that talk like that are like, they're trying to get more women in. They already have popular women in the show. What do you mean get women in? Keep in mind, people don't understand this, dude. When it comes to demographics, that Batman is mostly dudes. Like 96% of Batman's fans are probably dudes, right? Women are not the biggest demographic of Batman fans. So why are we tailoring entire characters to that? And even on the show, from the promos, they have female characters women can attach themselves to, even if you did think about that stuff. You don't have to gender swap like Penguin. It makes no sense to. You know?
The main, and I will say, I keep wanting to say he, Oswalda, which like I typed that in and I was like, is that even a name? And like, so I typed it in my iPhone and it had like the red dots under it. And I was like, obviously not, man. Like if autocorrect keeps trying to change it, it's like, did you mean Oswald apostrophe S? And it was like, no, I didn't. Oswalda. Was I'd say the least egregious thing about all the stuff that was in there, because he was voiced by Minnie Driver, who's just done just like awesome voiceover work in the past. She's great in live action too. She's still hot for how old she is. Not a bad choice if you're going to pick someone like that, but it was just it's just a strange thing to do. But the other stuff, which I'm not spoiling anything for you. We're just the way that it was marketed. There's things that just take you out of this, and like, I realize I'm talking to a brother right now, so maybe you can follow me on this.
A hot, rich, good-looking brother.
Yeah, absolutely, all day, every day.
and
but
rich.
but okay, they really tried to hammer down the fact that it takes place in the 1940s. Okay, but then you have like lesbians openly kissing like in a restaurant, and you're like, no, 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 no. That's not what they did. And I was like, you could even kept the characters lesbians, because one of them actually is a lesbian in the comics. It was like you could have kept those characters a lesbian. It was like, but they got to hide that shit because it's in the 40s, which it can be inherently interesting if you write it correctly. Where it was like, oh, she was a girl, they locked eyes, but there's chemistry there, but you can't do anything about it because the gay rights movement is going to happen for another 40 years. Things like that. And then there's they race swap Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon, and like they make Barbara Gordon a lawyer, but like a hot shot defense attorney, like in the 1940s, and it's just like, no, the civil rights movement isn't going to happen for like another 20 years. Like, I don't even mind that these characters are black, but it was like, if you're not mentioning like the struggle and the things that like would have made this interesting in the 1940s, it was like you're basically doing it just to do it. And like, I don't know, if I was a person of color, I would be borderline offended, where it was just like, oh yeah, 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 we had it real easy in the 40s. I don't know why people don't fucking bring this up more. It was a cakewalk. I don't even, that whole civil rights thing, we didn't have to do it because we were already getting great jobs and stuff like that. I was like, I'm just, is that a wild take? Is that something that was like, because like it drew me out of the story, where it was like, and no one says anything about it. It was like, no one said anything racist in 1940s to like the black guy in a position of power. I was like, from what I heard, it was kind of difficult to even walk down the fucking street. Shit, I'm Italian. I wasn't even allowed to identify as white in the 1940s. They would have been calling me greaseball or whatever.
Oh God.
It was like, they were racist. It is what it was. So then to say like, yeah, now we're really playing it up that it takes place in the 40s, and who was like, does it though? Like, not that I'm advocating that it was like, oh, we needed more racism in this show, but it was like, to make those switches and not address that at all, like, it's weird. Like, it feels ahistorical. Now, granted, you got a guy dressed up like a bat jumping from rooftops, so I mean, I guess I can give you that leeway. But like, when you throw all that shit at once and then swapping all these characters around, it just feels weird. Like, and a bunch of people didn't like it. And then when you try to comment on stuff like that, people are like, well, you just didn't like that, they put black characters. And it was like, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Oh, it's the constant deflection, man. Every single time.
Absolutely.
Every time. It's like, hey, I don't like how this character was portrayed in the show. I don't like the voice acting. I don't like the decision making. It could be whatever that you don't like about any character. But they'll be like, you don't like it because he's black. Fucking hell, you're not even listening. No. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Happens every time, people. Every time. You use Star Wars, act like Star Wars, for example, right? People say, I don't really like the main leading black female actress. People are like, you don't like her, she's black. What the fuck is wrong with
me? And another thing too, it's hard to have valid criticisms too, because there actually are like weirdo racists. Like,
oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
So like, I'll be like, hey, Amandla or whatever her name is, Mandela Steinberg or Steinberg, or like, she can't act. she was terrible. And they made it like the Flash, because what was worse than one Ezra Miller in a film was two Ezra Millers in a film. And so they're playing off each other with this wooden look. Like, in order to transport this bitch throughout the plot, they had to knock her out like 9 times. Which we eventually started a tally. I think she literally lost consciousness and woke up somewhere else like 6 or 7 times. Like, that was a plot device. And it can't, OSHA or Maeve or whatever the fuck her name was. And so I'll say something like that, and it was like, they can't act. Everybody felt wooden. The plot line didn't make sense. you disregarded like basic science by like having like fires in space and like somehow stone setting on fire, and then like people will be like, okay, I can agree with that, and then like some dude will like my tweet and be like, yeah, and that black bitch should have never gotten that problem. Like, no, 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 you're making my life harder. Don't agree with me. I don't want you to agree with me. It's
Mhm.
not because she's black. It's because she can't fucking act. And these people can't fucking write.
Mhm.
Okay? It was like you could have had an all black cast. I don't give a shit. If it was good, then I'd be like, yeah, like I watched The Wire. The Wire kicked ass. It was like you had a bunch of black people in there. Who gives a shit?
Mhm.
Okay? It's 2024. I look at my screen, I see a black person, and by the way, that's a woman thing. Uh,
Mhm.
like women need to see themselves. I was like, okay, I had a Michael Jordan poster on my wall growing up, and it was like uh,
Do you, do you
Goku.
remember people like the Flash season 1 actually is considered one of the best superhero television seasons ever.
Mhm.
Iris, the character portrayed her, Candace Patton, is black. Iris is not black originally, obviously.
It
And she,
worked.
even still to this day, she's still very mad that people didn't like the fact she was cast as Iris. But to be fair, that is a show where you don't like that they race swapped her, but it works so well given how
I
well it's
thought it
written.
worked great.
Yeah,
She's
but that's
hot.
not
She
what
was
they do now,
charming.
though. Yeah, but that's the thing is, generally speaking, for every Iris we have and for a Flash season 1, it's generally not like that. Usually, with their race swap, the
Uh-huh.
characters are complete trash. Their dialogue is usually horrible. Their characterizations are bad. Like it's usually a red flag. And like that casual guy made a point. He was like, "Well, just because they're race swap doesn't mean they're gonna be bad." But that's the no one ever said they would. That's just a red
Uh-huh.
flag. I
Yeah.
could be, dude. In one sentence, people don't know how to carry two thoughts in their head. I could go, hey, that's a bad decision. Because after that, he'd be like, well, you said you're not going to watch the show. I never said that. I never said I wasn't going to
Mhm.
watch it. All I said was this is just a bad decision. That's all I said. It's a red flag. It's a bad decision. And why would you do this in general? That's something like I don't like race swapping or gender swapping. I feel like it just causes way too much division and conversation. It's so
Mhm.
beyond. If they just honestly didn't race swap or gender swap, you wouldn't have these conversations because there'd be no need to, right? They're
Mhm.
doing it obviously because DEI. Let's be honest here, it's mostly that's the reason why they have this in. Because like even with James Gunn Superman movie coming up, Perry White is gonna be I forgot a black guy. He casted everyone pretty accurately to a certain
Yeah.
extent, but it's
I
that
I
always gonna
got
have that one DEI.
once I
It's always
saw
that.
Jimmy Olsen, I was like, okay, all right.
Mhm.
Who's usually, and that's another thing too. And like I said, if I was someone who like it hadn't been represented or was like, you're gonna give me, in like past iterations of Superman, it was like, oh great, like
Mhm.
you gave me Jimmy Olsen, like you know what I mean? It was like they always kind of do like throwaway characters, which I'm not saying that Jimmy Olsen is a throwaway, but I'm saying it's never the main guy because they can't do that. There would be outrage. It was like that. Which so with this, when you call it out, it's like by all means prove me wrong. Like, do it good. Like, you did Iris fine. That was a great example. I
Yeah.
was like, but then you also get ones like Wally West, and then you try to transfer that into the comic, and they're like, no, no, we're gonna make him black, and then all of a sudden you have like New 52 Wally West running into like the Wally West that's been around since as long as like Kid Flash has been a thing.
Yeah.
And then, he kind of like rolls up like, does anybody remember me? And we're like, oh, Wally, how could I forget you? It was like, wait, how does this work? Like,
Yeah, because I'm telling people, even like later on in the Flash's season, she got extremely terrible. But initially up front, it wasn't as bad. She was a fine character, you
they
know.
made,
I just don't get. I never get the race swapping thing because it only is. It's to me, it's always just a temporary thing. It only
Mhm.
just causes division. And it causes like the weirdest reaction out of people. You can tell who's an actual fan of this stuff versus like a casual or a tourist, actually. Because they'll be like, well, because people will even use it with Superman, dude. Remember that Superman, J.J. Abrams' Black Superman movie that got announced back in like
Oh yeah, they wanted
2021?
Michael B. Jordan for
They canceled the entire. You can tell it's canceled. That has never been brought up ever again. You
that
can
not
tell that's never
confirmed.
coming out. But people were like, well, Superman's race is not integral to his character. Okay, let's even highlight how that's already stupid in and of itself. But people have to realize this. You can tell half of them don't care about this stuff just by how they talk. A person went out of their way to create that, to make the character look the way they do.
Mm.
So who are you to say that their race is not integral? You're not the creator. You're not the artist.
No. Yeah, no, they do that. And you know what? And people even like actual comic book fans were going like, well, you know, there are alternate universe black versions of Superman. Like, which one are you doing? And like, no, Clark Kent. And it was like, why? We could give you 2 or 3 suggestions where that character is black. You could have full reign to adapt it, not only, you know, accurately, but tread new ground where, you know, you would get people who are just going to watch it for the race swap and actual fans where you're going like, okay, I was like, if I'm not mistaken, one of the black Supermen is like president in his universe. What an interesting concept. Maybe something that you might like to explore, but that would require the writers to actually pick up a goddamn book and read it.
Just the board. I mean, I never played Borderlands. I thought it was for losers back when I was a bit younger.
Yeah, I never played it either.
But the director, Eli Roth, it's things like that. These interviews these days kill and moments for movies. The guys, you know, talking about not really making a Borderlands movie and all of it. People have seen the video. I don't even repeat it all. It's just like, bro, if you didn't want to do a Borderlands movie story, then don't do a Borderlands movie or story.
Yeah.
It's that simple, you know?
I mean, there's so many things where they just fumble the bag on this, and it's like it all starts in the writing room. And you know, I understand wanting to do it because you want people to feel represented. I can empathize with that. In certain cases, I'll even support it. But it was like when you keep doing it badly every single time, well, then you have like real fans rolling their eyes every single time. Guys, it's not about racism. It's about poor writing. It's about and it's about even if you wanted to do black Superman, it was like Michael B. Jordan doesn't have like the gravitas to do that. He doesn't look the part. Even like I liked his character in Black Panther. Like I thought he acted that thing well. I even thought he was decent at Johnny Storm. I thought the race swap thing was kind of weird because like you wanted to do, you know, like a half and half, like, okay, make Sue Storm adopted, whatever, you know, that's when they really started getting egregious with that stuff. But I was willing to watch Fantastic Four, 2015, 2016 was an absolute nightmare. You know what I mean? And it wasn't him, but I was like, you could tell that he didn't get to run with that. It was like, because the Creed movies, awesome. Yeah. You know, he kills it in that role. That's not like a Superman role. Superman is like a big kind of like Boy Scout. He's not an underdog with a chip on his shoulder. Michael B. Jordan is great for that type of stuff. You know, he would be good because, you know, even though he's probably older than me, he's kind of got like a youthful zest to him. They, you know, they gave him that stupid haircut that they always give black characters for some reason that I've never actually met an actual black person who has the haircut that they gave him in Black Panther. It's the same one that Yord had in in I call it the bloomin' onion. Where you just it's like the mini dreads on top and it's almost kind of like a mohawk. Like, you know, they give him that and it was just like it was stop trying to make that look work. It was like I don't know anybody who looks like that. I live in Detroit. I see black people every day. I've never seen someone with that haircut. It was like
that's just their. It's so crazy how they say they love black people, like Hollywood, like they would let black people, black representation, and blah 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 blah. But they only see black people in certain ways with weird hairstyles. They have to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, act a certain way. It's like I don't people understand how racist that is. You're only seeing them in that way, and if anyone points that out, well, you're the racist. It's like, just what?
Yeah, like you're going against you're going against the little box we put you in. Oh my god, I'm getting abducted. Hold on. Wait, there it is. No, nothing. The sometimes the lighting on my
you're fine, man.
weird. And I get flooded
Well, I wanted
out.
to ask you this too, because you started doing your own YouTube channel, right?
Yes, I did.
Oh, how did you enjoy that experience so far? Because I know the last time you were on, before you did the show, you were like, I don't know about it yet. I'll probably get to it. You eventually did. So how was your experience finally doing it?
I liked it. I'm definitely going to be one of those evergreen content. I might host a stream here and there just get eyes on the channel, but like I kind of like just going at my own pace. So it was like the first video I did was on the Superman, the Fleischer Brothers OG Superman cartoons. Just it was a good experience. Like, and everyone's telling me I got a knack for editing,
Mhm.
so which kind of makes sense, just because of my musical background. So uh it kind of made it was like, oh, move the picture over the sound blocks. Like it wasn't that hard to figure out. So I had a lot of fun with it. I'm actually getting a little bit zany with my second project, which is I did you see what was going on with like Wendigoon in Praise of Shadows?
No,
Where
no.
okay, this like bread tuber in Praise of Shadows did like this 3-hour hit piece on Wendigoon, saying like, and Wendigoon's like one of the most like wholesome guys on YouTube. Like,
Imagine doing a 3 hour show just on one
yeah,
person.
it also it was like conservatives don't belong in horror and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna like reenact this, but it was like it's all gonna be myself. So I'm essentially gonna start like a YouTube beef with myself, and then like I'm gonna be like commentating on it. And it was like, and then this happened, so like I'm recording different clips
Yeah.
of like me in like different outfits, going like basically doing like a takedown of myself, because like I didn't want to take down someone else. I don't like that type of YouTube, but I was like, I just wanted to show how stupid it is, like, so it's a very meta joke. And then it's gonna be a surprise ending. It's gonna be quite. I also I've also been like reaching out to other creators, and, like, hey, send me a sound bite or a clip of you saying this. That way I can edit and manipulate it. Where it was like, one from my buddy Gooch, and it was like, he'd be like, he associates with Gooch, and
Mhm.
the one of the people I said was like, "Oh yeah, Gooch is doing great. Like he's a
Mhm.
monster right now." And then like I'd edit it like, "Gooch is a monster,"
Yeah.
and then like throw it in there. Just be as disingenuous as I possibly can. And like it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if it's gonna work out, but like, I don't have a time limit, so like, what are you gonna do? Like, it might take me 2 months, it might take me a year, but I was like, I'm gonna make it as obnoxious as possible,
Mhm.
and yeah, and then the next one's probably gonna be on Darkwing Duck, so I'm gonna be all over the fucking place.
Yeah, man, it's cool because a lot of people, when they finally do make that jump from like viewer to subscriber, sorry, yeah, viewer, just because I think people just most start as lurkers for the most part, then they
Mhm.
subscribe and everything. When a person takes that jump from being like a subscriber, viewer, however people want to put that into terminology, to actually doing the content, I'll be honest, I never really understood the difference between it until I actually did it. And then
Oh,
over the years,
100%.
your perspective changes, obviously. But if you actually start doing it yourself, you're like, wait a minute, this isn't like it's just a different shock to a lot of people. Some
Mhm.
people, they look at it and go, wow, I did not know this was really going to be this way. Because some people
Mhm.
they'll look at their sub counts and be like, there's no subs here. It's like, well, yeah, you gotta grow that. It's
Yeah.
not just something that
No,
just
it's a grind.
exists
It's
there,
a grind.
It's just how it
Like,
works. Yeah.
I'm blessed to be on, some channels where,
Mhm.
they're established and like they have clout and everything, but like I don't get any traffic on my channel. I just like hanging out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like any project that I'm gonna do, I'm just doing it for myself. And it's like, hey, maybe my grandkids will watch this one day and they'll be like, "Yeah, grandpa was a geek," something like that. But um the guys who like really really do it, like you, man, like you're on this all the time, like you're constantly
Daxar,
out
what's up,
there.
buddy?
Dax.
Dax, what's up, dude? Yeah, it's one of those. It's like, oh my god, it's a crazy experience some days because I know people are going to be like, well, what if I upload more videos and some don't do as well as others? Guys, that's just how it works. Not
Yeah.
keep in mind, not every video you're going to put out is going to hit.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
just
Sometimes something happens in the news. Sometimes,
there's a
like
big event going on, like the Olympics are going on right now.
mhm,
You
yeah.
know,
And I got guys, I'm in a couple of chats where some of these guys, they just lose their mind over the fucking algorithm. Like it was just like, well,
yeah.
I did this last time, and it was like, okay, well, you did that last time.
Mhm.
Or it was like, I literally see conversations where it was like, well, I started the stream at 8 o'clock. And on this one, I started at like 8:05, and like we had like 10 more viewers. And it was like that could be for a
Many
myriad of different reasons,
Yeah,
dude.
that's the
Like,
problem is a lot of people think just because you do it one time, it's gonna do that. It's the same way. It's
mhm,
like because it takes time for that to
uh-huh,
take it to effect. And the thing, what you're saying isn't wrong. That might have been true, but
yeah,
there's reasons why the same level of viewers didn't come back. Might be because hey, they were busier at that time than they were
mhm,
before, or maybe they didn't know you were gonna stream at that time. It's just
yeah.
there's so many
Or,
factors,
or you were covering a subject that was just really hot at the time, or
or something they
maybe
weren't interested in.
you lost people because you had a real shit take last week. Who knows?
Damn, that's probably why I have no viewers over
Don't
here.
worry
I'm just
about
kidding,
that.
people.
Just keep grinding. It's one of those things where, do bad or good, just keep 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 the content coming. Sometimes you'll hit something that'll do really well. Me and Gooch look over it like all the time, like the analytics on like certain like cartoons that he's done,
Yeah,
and like he's got uh that show Blue Eyed Samurai, episode
yeah.
2, his episode 2 of Blue Eyed Samurai, it's his best viewed video, like, out of all the videos that we still to this day don't know why. We
Blue
don't
Eyed
know.
Samurai, that
Yeah,
anime that was on Netflix?
yeah.
Oh,
We so what we do on his show is, like, we'll pick a show and once a week. So Tuesday, we'll do, like, an American cartoon. We were doing X-Men 97, and
mhm,
then Thursday is the, anime,
mhm.
so, we're doing Demon Slayer. For some reason, and we go episode by episode, that way people can get caught up. We talk about it,
Yep.
chats involved in the discussion. Great. It's like a book club for nerds, only you're watching shit. Wonderful. Episode 2 of Blue Eyed Samurai is the most viewed thing. I think maybe like people, and it saw a resurgence. Well, and then I'm telling them, I was like, hey, that show just got nominated for an Emmy. That's probably people are probably watching it. They get into it. They want to see what people want to know about episode 2. But then again, I got no fucking clue. It could be any. It could be
Because,
any
dude,
number of
the
reasons.
the crazy thing about, like, the internet is that people will like, tell other people that, "Man, all the new stuff or whatever is relatively new is not good and no one's checking it out." Well, that might be the case for certain movies and shows,
Yeah.
but it's actually the opposite in real life. That is actually the opposite. People, the reason why they check out the newest stuff is because that's what is readily available right now that they can just get into. You know,
Yeah.
same thing with comics. We had this discussion. I think last time you were on, we had a panel on. It's
Uh-huh.
much easier to get someone on the newest run of a character than it is to tell them the backstory and history of, well, basically everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
I'm
No.
sorry, it's just how it's going to work. You know, explain to someone what a back issue is. Nobody be like, what the fuck
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to explain to someone the other day. There was like, like, what's the difference between like a collected edition, like an omnibus? And I was like, okay, well, an omnibus is a collected edition. It's
It's just
just
your form.
yeah, it's just the collected edition. I was like, some things they don't have crossover of it. Well, what's a cross? And it's like, okay, all right, we're gonna have to go. It
That's
was
what I
like,
want to do for my
they
comic
even
channel.
have all the
I
one
want to
shots. What's a
we
one
have
shot? It was like, son of a bitch.
on my comic channel. I want to do videos like that,
Oh, that's a
helping
great idea,
people
man.
get into comics, or like explain to them how do you follow a character's run, like what is a pull list and what is all these things. Because I feel
Mhm.
like if people just make, I know for sure I'm gonna do them. I know that they've been done in the past. It just helps people
Yeah.
get into it easier because I mean, people can kind of talk down on people too much, and that's so cringe. Like, if someone's just genuinely trying to get in, I think you just help them. But tell them, hey, it's not going to be easy getting into this. If you want easy, I always say, pick a character, pick the newest run, whatever character is on right now, buy those. That's what I always say. That's what you can readily available get into. If you actually really want to get to know more things, that's going to be a while. There's a lot.
Pick up. Well, and that's how it was for us. You know what I mean? So like, you didn't just like walk into the store and be like, Superman issue 1, please. And they'll be like, all right, give me $3 million.
Drop 3 racks.
You picked up a lot of it on like context clues, and then eventually certain things solved themselves. But like, you know, we didn't have Wikipedia or anything. It was like, I still knew what I needed to know just from keeping on reading. Like, comics for the most part do a good job of filling in what you need to know. So, and it's like, and it's usually from contrived dialogue that would sound terrible in live action, but you know, like if I don't know, Superman runs into like a certain color of kryptonite, and then you're gonna have someone in the background like, oh no, that's the color kryptonite that makes Superman do this. Well, you just put that in the bank, and then when it eventually comes back, like all comic things do, you'd be like, oh, it does this. I know this from the last time that I did it. And I was like, if there's events, sometimes they have flashbacks, and then, you know, when you start to get your bearings a little bit, then yes, go back and look at some collected editions. I mean, all the big two both have apps now where you literally can, you know, pay them a couple bucks a month and have the entire library at your disposal. I mean, you know, but it's a challenge. It's something to get into. I think we talked about Warhammer last time, or I was like, I don't know. I know very little about Warhammer. I have buddies who are super into it. But if I said, hey guys, I'm thinking about like trying to get into Warhammer.
Pink kryptonite makes him gay.
It does. Makes them nice and flowery. And but if I wanted to get into Warhammer, like if I talked to one of my buddies, he would happily like take a Saturday and go like, all right, we're gonna sit down here for like 7 hours, and I'm gonna give you all. It was like, if you really want to get into this, but I was like, but if you're just gonna do this for like a day, don't waste my time, because like there's a lot to learn. And it was, you know, like there's plenty of people who, you know, like when you've got a hobby like that, there's plenty of people who are happy to share. It's just, you have to, I'm not saying always gatekeep, but like there are people who are like, oh, let me take a look around. And I was like, oh yeah, what if we fucking changed everything about this and made it entirely different? That's why I think Henry Cavill, even though like he's great, I think he hurts more than he helps. And I'll explain. Okay. He started out in that show like The Tudors, right? And like all these girls were like, oh my God, Henry Cavill. And then he gets Superman. And, you know, and they're like, oh, well, you know, like Superman. Then, you know, women start getting more and more into comics because they like Henry Cavill. And then all of a sudden he's The Witcher. And then they're like, oh, you know, but I don't like any of this stuff, and we're going to have to change that. And then all of a sudden, wouldn't you know it, he's like, all right, I'm doing a Warhammer thing. I'm respecting all the lore. And all of a sudden, girls are going, oh, Henry Cavill's in Warhammer. Why don't we check this out? And all of a sudden, wouldn't you know it, was like, we're making a female this. And they're like, no. It was like, why? Because women like Henry Cavill, and they'll like him no matter what he does. So when you bring him along.
Hi, Nal. Hi, Dax. Thank you for being here, man. Chloe earlier. Glad you were here. Yeah, you know what, man? I think the best thing to get women in the comics is mostly just, because even the most popular female heroes don't sell. Like Wonder Woman does not sell as well as Batman.
How many times did they rebooted Captain Marvel?
Oh, her run just ended right now after 10 issues again. Just again.
Was it her 7th run?
I think 4th, 5th. The newest run she had currently just ended. And by ended, I mean they canceled it due to low sales.
Did they at least give her a normal haircut this time?
Gosh.
Dude, and guess what? It'll never sell as good as the Miss Marvel when she was in the onesie, you know, with the S. Was like, that's the Carol Danvers that was selling.
That was drawn by John Cochran.
Yes.
Yeah. That's her best design ever. And they refused to use it because I remember, I think Gail Simone or Kelly Sue DeConnick was talking about it, and then one of them chimed in. They're like, "Well, that doesn't work for a modern version of Carol." Yeah, the modern version of Carol that's not selling and no one cares about. Yeah,
but it's perfectly acceptable for like any other guy to come out in a singlet with his fucking nuts hanging out. It was like, but like women are no better. It's fantasy, people. Okay, the superheroes have a certain physique. Okay, and man or woman, they're drawn a certain way because like it's like a heighten of the human body. People imagine going like, God damn, I wish I was buff like that. I don't want to put in the work, but you know, it'd be nice for like a day if I could, you know, like they don't understand that. I don't. And then when you say like, yeah, I only kind of want to look at like good looking people in my fantasy, and they're like, well, were you a porn addict? It's like, no, I see ugly people in the real world. I got a mirror, you know.
Happens in video games a lot too. They're like, if you want to look at hot women, just beat off or go to porn. It's like, what does that have to do with anything I just said?
Yeah.
I said, and the thing is, why do people? They want women to have great standards for themselves and they want to feel beautiful, but they don't want women to look good in pieces of media entertainment that millions of people are going to consume. Like, what level of logic is that?
And guess what? They're weirdos because studies have shown that women like to look at good-looking women. Okay, it's like it's not hard to understand. It was like, okay, I don't see Henry Cavill. Who's the dude who plays Homelander?
Oh, Anthony Starr.
Yes, I never see him walking around and go, oh goddamn, why didn't they cast me? Okay, like there's a reason. The guy's gorgeous. Okay, it was like all the Marvel people, they're all good looking. It was like there's a reason for that. There's a reason that movie stars are good looking because people pay. You don't want to see some ugly dude doing that. You know, ugly dudes are good for like cop dramas. Like, you know, like they had that one dude from NYPD Blue. He looked like Danny DeVito's the Penguin. You can relate with that guy because like he's a regular looking guy. You don't want that on the movie screen. That's fine for television.
I don't understand why people don't see that. Regular people don't want to see regular butt fucking people on screen. As far as like, yeah, they're technically regular people by that sense, but they don't want to see. I don't want to see some fat ugly bitch on screen.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's just
sorry. It's just,
yeah.
And anybody who tries to manipulate you and tell you, they're just being disingenuous because they don't like seeing people like that because for some reason they're wired differently and they're uncomfortable. Okay, that's all it is. Where they're like, all right, that all you want? It's like, no, it's what I want because I see everything else on a regular basis. This is to entertain me, you fucking lemming. Like,
yeah, like why would I go out of my way to watch stuff that represents my real life? The point of watching entertainment is to get away from that. It's an escapism.
Yeah,
you know,
that would be like, okay, you've all seen Batman. You ever seen Batman do his taxes? No, and no one would want to buy that.
No, that would be the worst selling comic ever, and at least top 10 worst selling ever.
I don't know. He's a billionaire. He might get away with some shit. Who knows?
Which I would agree with because fuck taxes, honestly.
Yeah, it's theft. I agree. Should be doing it in the first place.
Oh, to ask you this, I'm pretty sure you were here when it happened. I think you were. Remember the Crisis on Infinite Earths movies that they're using to basically end that iteration of DC animated because James Gunn's gonna do one universe of animation.
Good because it's been a garbage iteration. Which we went from like some of the best stuff that Warner Brothers had, and then they were like, "What if we just didn't do that anymore?"
Yeah. So for me, after I saw Batman Hush, people know you will probably not. I'm being hyperbolic here. Obviously, I'm tooting my own horn. Batman Hush, people know for me, is one of my favorite comic book stories ever. I absolutely love that story.
Oh yeah, you showed me.
Butchered that movie.
The one you just bought.
Yeah, I might because they just released it again in that compact comics manga form. I might just get it again because I just love it so much. And then after that movie, I was like, damn, fuck this. Even though they put out some good movies in that universe, that New 52 Flashpoint universe they were doing, which had some good movies. I'm not saying some get a little overrated in my opinion, but mostly pretty good. After that movie, I was like, man, this is bad. And then after that, we had that Batman Harley Quinn DC animated universe movie that was bad.
Had like a
And then
musical number in the middle of it, and was like, "Who is this
to me,
fucking
that's the
for?"
best part. Everything else was bad.
I mean, I liked when the jokes are hitting better than the action. You're going like,
I
"All
was
right."
like, man, this is bad. Like they were putting out some just huge stinkers. That Suicide Squad movie had Reverse Flash come back, and yet the whole I was like, this is just all like it started going down a hill, and people said, well, Apocalypse War is really good, which I don't disagree with. I saw like the first 10 minutes of it. I turned it off because I had to go to work that day, but I didn't go back to it. I'm not saying it's bad, but after that, we had the Tomorrowverse, and after Superman Man of Tomorrow, which I thought was the best one they put out, they had the Long Halloween's ones. After how they butchered that storyline, I was like, man, I just can't do it anymore.
I'm so glad you said that, because I had people going like, "Oh, it's the best one." I was like, "You never even touched a comic in your life if you're going to say that the adaptation."
2 parts they could have did in it.
Yep.
They gave this 2 parts to be fleshed out in,
and it was trash.
Yeah,
I don't like that art style. I especially didn't like it for
it's like
that.
an Archer animation style. It
did, and I was like, "Oh my god,
ugly.
you could have gotten some good animators in there to try and, you know, do like the Sale Leob look, because they have a particular look
Right.
that they do. I mean, they did it in Spider-Man Blue, they did it in Hulk, gray. Love that. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, at that point, I would have even taken a fucking motion comic over what they did.
Yeah, and I can understand to a certain degree why the animation got downgraded, because Warner Brothers has over time had a lot of money problems. So they most for sure cut the animation department's funding. I would imagine, right? But, but David, like those, if you check the sales on some of those movies, they sold really well. I really don't understand why that had to get cut, but everyone else, it's like the Tomorrowverse animation really didn't hit for me. The only character that looked moderately good was Batman. Obviously, he has to be the best looking one because he's Batman. Superman looked like Archer. The animation style I mentioned before wasn't hitting for me. The movies just really weren't that good. And to be fair, this isn't in the Tomorrowverse. I watched that Injustice film. That Injustice animated movie is
it's an abomination.
That might be honestly top 5 worst they've ever put out.
Oh ever. Yeah. And then, like looking at it, was like, oh my god, just a couple of years ago, you get something like Batman, Superman, Apocalypse. Like Batman in Batman, Superman, Apocalypse is one of the coolest looking Batman I've seen on screen, be it live action or not. And, I mean, granted, it's still voiced by Kevin Conroy, who's the fucking GOAT. But I was like, it was like the longer ears, it was just like the muscle tone, the jawline. It's just a good look. Superman had a good look. Supergirl looks fine. Like all of this. The Dark Side looked awesome. But it also sticks to the story really well. It kind of mimics the art in the story, and they used to do that more with Warner Brothers animation, where it was like, and even what was the one that came before that? It was Batman, Superman,
Public Enemies.
Thank you. Different artists on that one. So yes, Superman has like a big, wider chin.
That was even from that comic too. People actually bought that story. That they pretty much mirrored it pretty directly.
Exactly.
It's weirdly that animation, even though the comic has it's mostly the same, that had controversy too. That's a weird style. I got why they did it. You like it?
Yeah, it was more. That's kind of how comics looked at the time.
Yeah.
Like I get it.
Over exaggerate, way over exaggerated.
Yes, I don't like it. I also don't hate it, but like I really appreciated as a comic book fan when you adapted it to an animated film, that you emulated that style. And then when you went into the next thing, you emulated the style of that artist. So like then to go like, no, we're gonna have this uniform Archer looking look. It was like, it's passable, but it's not as fun. And and that's at the end of the day, that's what we're all watching this shit for. Yeah.
You know what we should do?
Jax knows.
God, we should probably rewatch that and review it next week. It's so bad. Actually, I remember the entire movie. Yeah, I remember the entire movie though. I could literally do it on the back of my hand. God, that movie
I would have to rewatch it for sure.
And then you would have to bleach your eyes out. But that'll be in a few weeks. We have to do Batman Cape Crusader first. I told Sam we do that first. I'm black. So
I mean, I can have it watched for sure. I mean, it's not a problem. It's just I'm gonna have to watch. God, the way that the Joker is animated in that is just so ugly. Yeah, I hated everything about it, and
Yeah, same.
I like the games.
The
They
game is
had
good. Yeah.
yep, they had some pretty good issues in the comics. I stopped after a while. I didn't like continue it through its
I read the comics after. I remember when the game first dropped. I never played number 2, but I remember the first one. I played it. Great game. Great game. Great story. I mean, it's Elseworld stuff.
yeah.
That's one of those movies where it's people even know it's not canon. They take things like, well, this is how the universe should have been. It's like people gotta understand it's Elseworld, which
Yeah.
means that they never intended this to matter in the grand scheme of things. This is kind of like
No,
a special what if story.
and that's another thing with those fucking normies. They will come up, they're like, "Well, you've never heard of an Elseworld story before," and it was like, "Yeah, but that's not what we're doing here." They love to bring up Elseworld until they don't, and they're so wishy washy with that. Where yeah, I'd love to see like an adaptation of like Crimson Mist or
Mhm.
stuff, just go balls up, make a live action. It was like we have come to a point. I was telling someone this the other day. So when I always share streaming apps with my best friend Ray. So
Mhm.
I pay for HBO Max, he got Paramount Plus, I have his Netflix, he has my Hulu,
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah.
so like we just kind of split it. And so we basically have everything. And
Mhm.
when I first got when we first got Paramount Plus, I was watching, they had all like the old Nickelodeon shows on. And
Mm.
I didn't realize that the show Double Dare went all the way back to like 1984. Like that's when that show first started airing.
Mhm.
Uh, so one of the questions, and it got passed back to both families, was uh what's the alter ego of Batman? They didn't know. The 1989 movie had not hit yet. The 60s movie was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So kids that age, he just wasn't in the cultural zeitgeist
Mhm.
anymore, and then Batmania hit. He's a household name. And I was like, we have now, as a people, moved on where we don't need to tell the fucking origin story every single time that we do a movie. Okay. And also, we also have enough uh material where if we didn't explain the origin story, you are more than capable of seeing those two gun flashes and the slow motion pearls falling in the street. Like,
Mhm.
we get it. Bruce Wayne, dead parents. Got it.
I don't like BVS at all. I think BVS is a bad movie, but
Yeah.
Zack Snyder did it. He did it the best. I think most people should. The only thing people should emulate from that guy is how you do a backstory where movie starts very beginning, get it out 5 seconds in, character has a flashback
Mhm.
to a traumatic experience, get it over with. That's it.
Well, I mean, Tim Burton's 89 one, I like how they played it as a mystery. But
Mhm.
like I said, it wasn't like common knowledge at the time,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
that was the first time. So that was like a big reveal in the in the
Yeah.
movie. So, but after that, we've had countless iterations doing that. So, like when you look at some of these animated
Mhm.
adaptations, like I said, Batman, Superman, Apocalypse, great example. It doesn't You don't need to see the ship crash and landing in Kansas or anything.
Yeah.
Superman is up in the sky and Batman is in his fucking submarine and they are investigating a meteorite that
Yeah.
hit in Metropolis Harbor. Good. I think we can all digest that. And
Mhm.
if you're looking at two of the most recognizable character in pulp culture and go, "Oh, well, who the hell is that?" Well, the internet exists now. Wikipedia exists now. You can get caught up relatively
Yeah.
quickly. Okay, like they have to. They feel like they need to spoon feed everything to you, and they really don't. And this is,
Mhm.
it's like one of those cause and effects thing. And it was like, is the writing getting worse because people are getting dumber, or are people are getting dumber because the writing is getting worse? You know what I mean? It's like,
True.
it's one of those things. I was like, I don't know what the right answer is, but like, why don't we test the smarter writing and see how that goes over? Why don't we go
Mhm.
in that direction? And if people can't keep up, well, maybe that will give them, it's some incentive to maybe fucking educate themselves. What do you say?
Yeah, because that's the thing is if someone isn't really willing to go out and pursue more information on something that they claim they're passionate about, I'm not
Mhm.
trying to hold people's hands. Every person,
No.
man. Yeah,
No, so, we, reviewed have you ever heard of the cartoon Scavenger's Reign?
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, it's great. It's on Max, it's on Netflix, it's also up for an Emmy. It's this sci-fi thing. It's about like, it's like a Lost in Space type of deal.
Mhm,
Cargo ship like crash lands on this planet. It's very, very alien. Things that you think would be totally harmless are like the most dangerous fucking thing
mhm,
that you've ever, and things that look really scary, they're not dangerous at all. But it it leaves you to come up to your own conclusions. The same reason that like everyone says Jaws is so scary. You don't really see the shark that much. So what's going on up
mhm,
here is way worse than something that they could ever show. So, they don't speed, they don't hold your hand and walk through it. It's great because they don't treat you like a fucking dum dum. Like it's really that simple.
mhm,
And a lot of people have that complaint with like anime, but like that's in a different language and it's in a different
mhm,
medium. So like people always bitch, like especially in Demon Slayer, like the inner monologue is like
mhm,
too much. And it was like, well,
mhm,
that it's being adapted from like an issue by issue type of thing. You're gonna get that in anything, and if they cut it out, you're gonna be missing key points. Like that's why you can relate to these characters so well. It's because you know
mhm.
how they think. But
Right.
I don't think it's dumbing it down for you. I just think it's just a little heavy-handed because
Mhm.
they explain. But, if you're looking at a still and the guy's like, "Well, if I don't do this guy's gonna do this, and if that guy's it's because it's a still page." Like, when you translate it,
I
it
want to
doesn't.
ask you this: since this movie just came out, I know we saw it. Deadpool, Wolverine.
Loved it. Do I think, and I have like a lot of movie critic friends and circles, and they're like, "Oh, it's a bad movie." And I was like, "Here, put it this way. And this is what I've been telling people. It makes Citizen Kane look like Citizen Kane. Okay? It's a fucking comic book movie. Okay? I don't know what you were expecting. Okay? It's not gonna
It's
get
just
the Oscar
Deadpool of all
nom.
movies
Yeah.
too, I guess. If people
Yeah.
say Deadpool,
Like,
I
come on.
I never even saw the first one. I only saw Deadpool 2. And I was like, okay, I can kind of get what they're
Yeah.
trying to do with this movie. It's a pretty that style, that's like basically kick ass for these movies,
Yeah.
essentially. You know,
I,
okay,
I thought I
I do
thought it was a
agree.
wonderful love letter to the Fox films.
Yeah,
It
and
it helped me
there
go
are
to
holes
bed
in
at
the
night
story.
going like, "Oh, they."
Yeah.
My biggest fear was like some shit was gonna go down, and then like Deadpool is gonna wake up and look around and be in the fucking Marvel universe with Hugh Jackman and all the rest of the Fox X-Men. And I was like,
That's
"Oh
right.
wow,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
just gonna
yeah.
you're just gonna build off of what all these people did before you and put in no effort."
Mhm.
Great. They said, "Hey, we have no interest in doing that, but look how fun the Fox films were." They had that wonderful little montage at the end.
At the end, that was
Great.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually almost got a little teared up because I was like, "Oh my god, this is my entire life. I've been watching these movies, since."
When they came out, yeah, I was
Yeah.
old enough to know when they would drop, when they would get released. I was
Mhm.
even old enough some years ago when they would be the newest movies that would have come out,
Oh my god. I
actually.
I I was saying this before, like, so X-Men came out when I was, like, in 6th grade.
Mhm.
Um, so I remember annoying the shit out of my uncle and my cousin because, like, if it's not baseball or football, they don't really they don't follow comics the way that I follow comics. They like action movies at the movies, but like otherwise they want to talk about the Tigers, they want to talk about the Lions. And then
Mhm.
meanwhile, there's little me who just got his braces standing over. It's like, "That's Sabretooth. His name is Victor Creed. And normally he's a lot bigger than Wolverine because Wolverine's like only 5'3" in the comics." And they're like, "Dude, will you just shut the fuck up and like let us watch the movie?" And it was like, that "Oh, if you look on the monitor there, that's Hank McCoy. I haven't seen him in the movie yet, but he's actually Beast." And like, "Yeah, that's great, Sam." And, it was like I remember annoying them like in the theaters and like as a little kid. It was like and being excited. I mean, in those movies, half the times, like the '90s comic book movies, like the coolest things in there were the Easter eggs or the name drops or the shit that you didn't see because like they either didn't have the rights to the character or like definitely couldn't afford to put it in. You know, it was like it was just movies have evolved so much. Those movies were so much fun for what they were. Some of them are absolute fucking garbage, but also they have no place in the MCU. You didn't do any of that. I know you bought Fox and you're gonna butt fuck it to death because you're Disney.
Yeah, they had to make sure that one connective. The only connective scene in that movie is the Happy Hogan one, where he has cables. I forgot that device he had.
Yeah, well, and the whole TVA thing, but like,
but outside of that, I would say that is more like a Fox Marvel movie than an MCU movie. I get it's in the MCU.
I regard it as the last Fox movie.
Yeah. I'll say they released it. It's under their universe, but it's not under the universe. It's like when people look at like the Spider-Man movies, they kind of are their movies, but it's kind of not their movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they basically they can legally say that it's their movie because they distributed it, but you know, as we know, it's not really theirs. But like the plot,
people know.
I didn't really have a problem with the movie itself. I thought it was fun. It's enjoyable. It had a lot of great stuff in there. The action is really good. There was one shaky cam scene. It was when they went back to fight with the X-Men group they had. It was no other action scene was shaky cam other than that one. And I was like, okay, that's maybe it was a bad day of filming. Maybe it was a rainy day. The only thing I didn't like about the movie was the villain. They were just not good. I didn't like her. I didn't like Paradox. I don't know. I kind of found her. I found her pretty attractive. Bald women are like for me, but she was.
If you're bald like that and can pull it off, I was like, it was doing something for me.
And you can do stuff with your fingers. You know.
Yeah, I know. I was calling her chemo mommy. But you know, she was all right. Yeah, Paradox annoyed the crap out of me, but like that's the character. Like I don't know. I don't know if he's in the comics. But
I think the only problem for me with the movie was just that, and I feel like some of the scenes dragged on a little too much longer than they have to be. I feel like the ending scene, not the real ending, when they follow the Deadpools and they all came back to life. I was like, well, why did we go through this? Because we know they're not going to die. We know they have immortality, essentially immortality. It's like, why did we go through this? I was like, we went through all that just to have
that Peter moment.
just for that. We're like,
which I did like when Peter shows up and he's hitting on that girl from the TVA and she's like, you look fucking awesome, and then he's like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, it's like that was cute. The whole thing was cute. And I do mean cute, like, because the other ones were a lot more gritty, vulgar.
Right.
This one, you know, it was toned down a little bit, but it was still fun. It wasn't anything that I would say like, yes, would I suggest, like, is it one of the best comic book movies ever? No, but that's what the Deadpool movies are. Is like, it's all like gratuitous payoff. It's shiny, me likey, clap, clap, clap. And you know what? That's what I was there for. I was there to see Hugh Jackman in the John Byrne suit. You know what I mean? I was there for it. I lost my mind when I saw Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. You know what I mean? It's just that's what you watch for. That is a comic book fan movie. Okay. And like, if you don't understand that and you're going in, like, I've had people, you know, because people ask me questions on Twitter. They know I'm pretty well versed and I know my shit. Yeah. So, you know,
the beauty of this for people, they know you're that into it, like we are. It's just, man, people will just be like, do you like it? Because I don't mind that. I really don't. But just, you know, that's the way that I look at it. I don't expect you to look at it that way, because you have to make your own individual opinions about
there's this autistic kid from Ireland. He thinks that I like know everything about everything, but like, you know, it was like, oh, they probably didn't get that in contract negotiation. I was like, that would be a hard team up to pull. And he's, well, why is that? I was like, I don't fucking know, man. I didn't go to law school. I'm just saying, it was like, those are two different intellectual properties owned by two different movie studios. It's going to be hard to fucking do. Okay. I was like, you're not going to see Venom in I can't remember what team up he did, but it's like, he doesn't know. He was just asking. So it was like, I'm not Not saying that, and unfortunately, that is something that is a big factor in comic book movies right now. Is Marvel sold a lot of their shit like early on because they were going bankrupt. It was like that's why you haven't had like a Hulk solo film in the MCU. It was like they don't own the rights to do that. Like
Yeah.
but Hulk showed up in this. They have the rights to put him in as a side character. I don't know how the hell that works out, but
It's
like
because
that.
they know if they put him in Avengers movies that they'll make so much money that whatever Universal is asking for, they could give him it. Because he's
Yeah, but
only
I'm
in like
saying he was even in Deadpool and Wolverine, so they have the rights
was
to
he in
put
there?
him.
You're right,
Yeah,
he was in there. Huh.
yep. When he was fighting, when in the John Byrne suit, when Wolverine's in the John Byrne suit, he's
You're right.
fighting him there.
Yes.
Which they redid that excellent cover. Was that McLaren or was it Miller? I think it's Miller. I can't remember, where he's in the brown suit and then you see the Hulk's reflection on the claws. Very, very iconic comic book
That
cover.
says, I'm fine with them going for pure fan service in their last two Raw. I would have liked if the script was revised to exclude the TVA and Marvel altogether, but I understand Marvel's current reality. Yeah, but to be fair, I think what you said is also true. Is there they touched on the MCU with that one scene with Happy Hogan to set up the narrative for the movie, because I don't have problems with the movie's plot on the bigger scale, which is I understand to a lot of degree, but that scene set up his motivation. Remember, the point of the movie was he wanted to matter. Like he felt like he didn't matter. And that scene, Happy Hogan was like, "Hey, this group is this group is that." I feel like they did utilize that MCU scene the best they could to set up the entire narrative of the movie. Honestly, my big issue with the movie, not just outside of the villains, is this Wolverine. It's not that I hate his acting. Hugh Jackman's acting is great. I think my issue with it is like, why do I care about this Wolverine though? Because this is not the same Fox one, and we were having an open spoiler discussion about it, and I was like, okay, so they did it. They made it a way where his backstory would make sense in the movie, which I thought was going to be pretty hard, but they did a good job of that. But then I thought about it, I was like, why should I get behind this version of Wolverine though? This is not the same one.
He doesn't deserve
He has the
what's
cool
going on.
suit. He wears the comic suit, which is great. I feel like in the
Yeah.
movie they put on the mask way too late. Like I forgot the mask was there for him when he put it on. But that one part, the one Deadpool couldn't revive and he got his head blown off. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. Nice pool. Nice
Nice
pool
pool,
was
the one
fucking
that
great.
can't regenerate. That's
That
fun.
that was
Right
hilarious.
after, dude, he was like, "You fucking idiot."
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, or when he did the same thing to like Johnny Storm, and was like what, I can't remember what Wolverine says exactly. It was like, "You got him murdered, you fucking idiot." He's like, "We're all grieving."
You know what's crazy, for that little dog they had until like dog pool, they
Uh-huh.
asked for the ugliest dog in the UK.
Yeah. No, he's the winner of like the world's ugliest dog contest, like
That's
a couple years
awful.
running. What?
God damn.
Why? Give him some play. I was like, and you know what? I would adopt that dog tomorrow.
I would too. That dog's
Like,
so
oh,
cute.
there's
Whoever
something
voted that
about an
dog
ugly
ugly,
dog, man.
whoever voted that dog is the ugliest, you need to have your eyes checked. I've seen much uglier dogs than that.
I agree.
No, it
I've
was the part
seen.
where he was like, he held him with all the bullets. He was like, I can't feel my legs. And he's like, you can do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, he starts quoting Reservoir Dogs. Like,
Oh, God.
say the
Well,
words.
yeah, man. It was great to catch up with you. Can't wait to start Wednesday Top G's again next week when we review Batman Kid Crusader Season 1. Guys, this ain't getting a Season 2, so that's
Yeah.
this gets a Season 2. I mean, it's Batman. I'd imagine it would, but
Well, I mean, when we interviewed Bo DeMayo.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. So what he was telling us basically is you don't just write like one season, you kind of pitch multiple. So like I wouldn't even be opposed to it. Because it's kind of like what they did in the Batman. Where he's vengeance when you start out. He was like, he's not really Batman until like the end of the movie. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same thing here. I'm interested to see what you have to say about it, because like I kind of do think you'll feel the same way. Or it was like it's a real mixed bag, man. The parts that they nailed, and like the other parts, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Mhm.
So like, I wouldn't go as far to call it like a shit show. Everyone's gonna dunk on it just because of the DEI stuff.
Yeah.
But if you know that going in, and you kind of just like, if you can just like turn your brain off on that aspect to it, like the parts that are good really do stand out. Like I really enjoyed what they did with Clayface. Um, and the never mind. I'm not going to get into the rest of the stuff until you see it. But yeah, I know you know your stuff, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Anytime, man. Yeah. So much stuff coming out, man. It's like hard. That's why I gotta do it one thing at a time. You
Hmm.
know? What's the next superhero thing coming out? It's Deadpool Wolverine was like the last for like cinema, it's the biggest thing.
I
DC has oh, there's Joker 2 that's coming out, I think in
Is that even a
November.
superhero thing though?
Technically, it's a super villain movie.
Yeah, technically, but it's also, it's like I start hearing those things and they're like, oh, it's got like 25 musical numbers in there. I'm like, great, cool. That's what I want to go see the Joker for, is song and dance numbers. That's
Oh, before you go, are you getting any current comic book runs, or what have you been reading? If you've been following any of that, or you've been kind of just like taking it
I've
slow?
been reading a bunch of back issues lately.
Oh, okay.
I just I just got the first like Mirage run of Ninja Turtles. I got like this nice hardback edition.
Mhm.
Then a couple other things. Yeah, I just bought the Mask. Also like the Dark Horse run. I wanted to
Oh,
kind of
I
like
keep
read more
hearing
into
the
that.
Mask is a superhero property to some extent, or it's a comic book property too.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, it's not what I expected. I had one issue as a kid, and I remember I was like, "Oh, this is nothing like what the Jim Carrey movie was," and it was way more violent. And I was like, I just remembered seeing it, and I was like, so yeah, I just bought a couple of that.
You know what I'm
Couple,
gonna do? I'm gonna get the Kick-Ass books. I never actually read the comics.
I have the first one.
I'm gonna get the
It's good.
first whatever omnibus or I used to be factor in. I don't really do the whole back issue collecting. I do it in forms of like trades. I feel like it's just easier, more convenient, less money. I could just get an entire run and the issues in a trade. I get why people do the back issue thing. It's good to do that because you can support your local comic store too.
Mhm.
But that's just how I do it. I'm gonna do Kick Ass and I'm gonna go through the boys actually before I watch the show ever. I'm gonna go through the actual book. You know, because I want to know what they changed and everything. Because I think it's imperative to know what they changed now. That way, your mind is even more closer
Oh,
involved.
they changed quite a bit. They change a lot. And some of the stuff I like, none of the stuff that like post season 3 do I like. But I mean, they're almost like separate entities at this
Yeah.
point. I mean, they're just so wildly different. But like, no, that's cool. I mean, same thing. I know Invincible is a lot closer.
Yeah.
Uh,
Lady Gaga, you know, I
Lady
think she'll
Gaga,
do a good job as Harley Quinn, but the problem here
she's
is that
not a
Lady,
bad actress.
yeah, I liked some of her songs. She was big for a bit and then she fell off. She came back. She didn't do music anymore. She's just acting. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I guess, you know. So you're basically twerking half naked on stage. And I was like, you know what? I should watch that for science purposes. But yeah, last few things I'll ask you, man. First thing, which is anything coming up that the viewers you want them to know?
No, not really. Just been kind of enjoying the ride. Just got my regular schedule streams. It was like 3 days a week. I'm on Diabolical Souls. I'm gonna be doing this with you now. And then Sunday I'm back on Diabolical Shows, and then I'm also on Thursdays. I'm on this guy Roman of the Empire.
Oh,
It,
well, okay.
and
Hmm.
Yeah, it's his birthday stream on Thursday. I don't
Hell
know how
yeah.
old that fossil's gonna be, but we're gonna roast the shit out of him, and that's gonna be fun. So and he's the one who asked for it, so I'll be more than happy to be mean to my friend for a little bit just because it's his birthday. But how about you, man? What do you got coming up?
Oh shit. So probably playing League later on tonight. Have to get some of that content, you know, that I do on the shows edited out of the shows and uploaded. Gonna be uploading the Trap movie review that we did.
Oh, what was your opinion on that?
Bad. If you're asking my personal opinion, it's bad. I would say always watch this for yourself, my golden rule. But if you're asking my personal opinion, that shit is bad. Demon Slayer. Oh, we're gonna watch Fairy Tail here. I never watched Fairy Tail.
Oh, awesome! I've been wanting to start that myself.
I actually bought the first omnibus for it. If you factor in mangas beating the comic industry in sales, even their omnibuses are cheaper. Manga omnibuses are 3-in-1s, is what they call them. They'll like technically call them omnibuses. You can get a manga omnibus of anything popular that is big for about less than $20. The average omnibus in America retails for about $88 to $100 plus.
Oh well, I was talking about those apps. I was talking about those apps. So like, DC Universe probably runs you about like $15 a month.
Marvel's is 10 for Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel's 10.
Yeah,
the Shonen app is $1.99 a month.
I have it. Yeah,
I have it too. That's how I keep caught up on.
Which series are you reading currently? I want to read a Kagubatsuri.
What'd you say?
It's just like Samurai one. It's getting its own. The first volume manga is going to get released next month, so I might just wait to get it trade back. But if you wanted to review the chapters and go through it, I'd do it.
Whatever one you want, man. I'll just.
It's up to you, man. You can pick if you want.
No, it really
this is the one right here. Kagurabachi. It looked cool, so I was like,
just
right here.
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, I dig the art already.
The art would grab me in. I was like, this is pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah, kind of.
It's gonna be weird because it's reading on my phone. I
know exactly what you're talking about. Actually, I kind of want to see. There's got to be a way to access it on my desktop because that would just be.
You can. Your Viz Media account. So your Shonen Jump account is tied to your Viz Media, or like a thing tied in the same way. You can do it on your computer. You actually can.
Okay. Well,
just log in on Viz Media with your password and everything, and you're in.
Wow, I might actually get caught up on fucking One Piece too. I mean, I stopped at like I think like I was in like the 700s. So like, but I mean, the anime editions you can just. Or the manga editions, you can just like blow through them. They're really, really small compared to a, they're very digestible. So yeah, if you want, just text or DM me that. I'll get started on this week.
We'll do it one thing at a time. We'll do Batman first, and then after that, we'll decide what we're gonna do next. Because if I have to review Injustice again, my brain might I might need rope. I'm not even kidding. We hit 1,000 subs.
Did it?
I'm so tired. I would do backflips right now. I would.
My man.
We'll celebrate on. Goddamn. We'll celebrate on Friday. We'll celebrate 1,000 subs on Friday. But thank you guys for us finally hitting the 1,000 subscriber mark on the show, where we announced we're going to do Wednesday Top Gs with Mr. Sammy3Peat for Wednesdays.
Nice.
Coming up. Oh God! Thank you everyone for your support. Michael,
celebrate by not watching Injustice. Nice.
By not watching, I can probably remember everything I hate about that movie. Just spurted out in the video.
I know.
Not even kidding. I probably need to watch it. I remember the entire thing, and it was just bad.
It is bad.
Thank you, Ninja. Thank you. I subscribe. You suffering simp. Hey, I love He-Man. My He-Man growing up was the Toonami one. So that's the one I grew up with. I have the good. He-Man. It's crazy. I always call it the He-Man, but it's called Masters of the Universe, which is the actual franchise's name. But
that's the one where like Skeletor's face melted.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that one's goated actually. Because like the original like He-Man cartoon was like it was all right for the time. Like they actually gave characters some agency in this one, and I don't know what the fuck Kevin Smith was doing.
Did people actually unsub and take me away from 1,000? What a bunch of bastards!
They'll do that. People will do that. They'll
they did it right now. People actually unsub because they saw me hit a milestone. It's fine. We'll stay at 1,000 or get back to 1,000.
You get 997. That means they like you. That means they like you when they unsubscribe after you hit a milestone.
God, the key is to get past that milestone and then get more people subs. That way, if they do unsub, you won't notice them.
Yeah, exactly.
The real key difference there. But yes, last question. Any shout outs you want to give to anybody in particular? Anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, hi, Mom. That'll be it. I'm sure my
I would
wife's
say
asleep by now.
I would say hi, Dad, but as you guys know, Michael
Oh,
doesn't have
come
dad.
on now. Give him a call.
God, yeah, that might be a little harder than easier said than done kind of thing. But yes, thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Iron Man podcast, and we'll see you guys later. Have a great